Welcome to Real Estate Success Partner. We're your hosts, Devin Dubuque,
David Wynn,
and we're here to talk about how to have great success in every market. Today, we've got a really great guest. David, this one's yours, brother. Who did you bring to the show today?
I brought the great Billee Silva, Sylvie, right? Or Silva?
Silva.
From Fort Myers, Florida. She is basically a great realtor down there, and take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah,
Billee.
so Billee, Fort Myers, how long have you been in the industry? Did you've been doing this for a couple of years?
I did. I got my license in 2013, and I've been practicing for a little over it will be 8 years in February.
That's awesome.
So I have a few years under my belt.
You do. And you've seen some of the market changes too, which is always awesome, right? When you want somebody to represent you, you want somebody that understands the different markets, what may or may not happen, and having that expertise, right? Those years behind you, that's what helps make that happen. So you said you started 8 years ago, just jumped out of college?
Yes. Don't I look like I just jumped out of college? No, unfortunately, this is my second career. My first career was in higher education administration.
That's awesome.
So I was in administrations for a local university.
I love that. So came from the university, and what took you over to the real estate side? What made you decide you wanted to move into this industry?
Well, when I originally started in higher education, I was down in the trenches working with the students. I felt like I was making a difference every day working with the students.
I love
and
that.
As I rose up the corporate ladder, I kept losing more and more touch with the students and sitting in meetings and dealing with politics. And it wasn't fun anymore. And I didn't feel like I was making a difference in anybody's lives. So my husband's like, why don't you go get your real estate license? I'm like, I don't want to do real estate. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, what's the biggest purchase people do in their lives?
Yeah.
The biggest transition is either buying or selling a home.
That's right.
And I would be able to help people and make a big difference in their lives again, whether they're purchasing their first home, their 30th home, whether they're selling a home that they've raised their family in and they're downsizing. We all know real estate's a huge emotional roller coaster.
It is, yeah.
And so that's why I got into it, to make a difference in people's lives again. And I do feel like I make a difference in my clients' lives.
I love that. So you've got a giving heart, and where you were putting it at the time wasn't what you were passionate about anymore, because you didn't have that ability to work directly with the people that you were trying to influence. And now you get back into a market where you can do that and share that big heart out there by connecting, potential buyers or sellers, with the right people. And you're right. It's an emotional investment. It's one of the biggest purchases of most people's lives. And to have that guidance and support, it's so important. It's truly important. So are you from Fort Myers originally? Did you get your start in Florida?
No, I was born and raised in Michigan. And then after college, I headed south to get out of Michigan winters, where I got as far as Atlanta, Georgia. And I met my husband, who took me to Boston, and they have worse winters. They have worse winters than Michigan. So after listening to me whine and complain for 2 years, he's like, fine, we'll go wherever you want to go. We just have to be on the water.
I love it.
And so we had come to Sanibel on vacation, loved the area, and that's how we ended up here. Been here, it will be 30 years.
That's beautiful. So came on vacation and said, this is it. This is where we want to be. Yeah,
exactly.
I love that. I haven't gotten down to that part of Florida yet, but one of our employees, Dana, lives down there with her husband. They're right on the water, and just they paint this enchanting story. I've got to get out there to see what it's all about, because it sounds like you guys just have a slice of heaven down there.
It is. It's truly paradise.
Yeah.
Beautiful white sand beaches, sunny days, warm weather. Like today, we're all whining that we're cold, and it's probably in the low 70s.
Just freezing outside. Better make sure you put on your winter
Exactly.
jacket.
Exactly. Turn the heat on to take the chill out of the house.
I love it. I love it. So you got away from the cold northern weather, and beautiful places, obviously Michigan, Boston, there's some really cool history and culture there, right? But down there in Florida, and you're right, the white sandy beaches, who can't say no to that? So you've spent a big part of your life in Florida. So you're a resident now. I mean, 30 years in, this is home
I've
for you.
actually lived here longer than I've lived anywhere in my life. I really need to
I love
start
that.
saying I'm from here, but
You
I'll
are.
always say I'm from Michigan because that's where I was born and raised.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's another thing I think it's really great to point out. We talk about experience in the industry, but part of the experience, especially in the real estate world, is understanding the area that you're representing. And you've been there long enough to where you can say, I am a local expert in this area because you've spent a lot of time down there. And I think that helps when you're guiding people to the right home, right? Is knowing the market, knowing, the ins and outs, where you want to be, where you don't want to be, what's going to work best for certain people, right? I think that's really important in this industry. So.
Right. And oftentimes I'll say, "Oh, I remember when this neighborhood was built," and then I'm like, "Oh my goodness, that was 20 years ago."
That's pretty cool, though. It's pretty cool because at the end of the day, you've seen the market change and transition, and it helps you, to really educate people as to, the local areas. So let's talk about that a little bit. Where do you get most of your consumers? Are you doing a lot of past customers? Do you have a lot of new home purchasers that are coming from outside of the area? What's that look like down there?
Yes, yes, and yes. I've been in the business long enough now that I'm getting repeat customers.
Yeah.
I do a lot with referrals from my sphere of influence, and then being in snowbird heaven,
Yeah.
a lot of my clients are Northerners that are looking just like me to get out of those bitter Michigan, New England, Ohio, Minnesota winters.
That's right.
And enjoy a little bit of paradise. And I also work a lot with first-time home buyers,
Oh, I love that.
which is always fun, because they really need your assistance and your hand-holding. And I think it could be a blessing or a curse, I don't know. But with a higher education background, one of the things that I do, I probably tend to overeducate my clients more than I should, but I don't do surprises well, and I don't want them to have surprises.
Right.
So I try to give them as much information so that they feel that they're making an informative decision.
Yeah.
And I tend to coddle my customers a little bit too much sometimes, probably too, but that's what I enjoy doing. I got into the business to make a difference, and I'd say 99% of my customers I still keep in touch with. They've all become very dear friends. I've been very, very blessed.
I love that. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, hey, Billy, is it just you on the team, or do you have a team behind you?
Yes. I'm definitely a one-man band. So when my customers sign up to work with me, they're stuck with me forever. I mean, I hold their hand from the first time we meet until the end of the process and throughout. I'm not one of those realtors that once you go under contract, then you don't hear or see me anymore. You're dealing
disappear.
with my transaction coordinator or, another team member. They always know if they have a question, they can reach out to me any time of the day, that I'm available. And if they get my voicemail, it's because I'm either with another customer or I'm sleeping.
Well, I think that could be your secret weapon. Whenever they sign up for you as their realtor, Billy, they get all of you from phone call to transaction to everything. You're not passing them off to someone else. I can see why they choose you. And I'll be real frank with you. I've seen your production report. You do a lot of transactions. When do you sleep? When do you have time to do anything else? You must really love real estate.
I do. I've always been a little bit of a workaholic, but real estate's fun. My customers are my life. I give 110%, and I'm try to be available at all times. And my son's growing now, so it's not like I'm running to soccer games and little league and all that type of stuff. He's grown. I don't have grandchildren. It's just my husband, and he works. So why not put my heart and soul into real estate?
Yeah. Well, it goes back to your caring heart. You said it in the beginning, you got into your first career because you were making an impact and helping people. And now you transition over into the real estate world. You're doing the same thing and you're pouring all of you into it, which is what makes these repeat customers want to come back again. And you also mentioned, the first time home buyers. And I think that's a big part of it because, they want somebody that they can trust. They want somebody that's going to help walk them through that process. And, that's you, Billee. You're out there doing what it takes to give them the right education. You said sometimes maybe you pour into them too much. I don't think that's the case. I think when you're a new home purchaser and you're out there, trying to make a decision, sometimes it can be a little bit scary. And when you get with a realtor who just, gets you to the first part and kind of pushes you over to the next person, it feels transactional. And what you're talking about is you're making it personal, which is why you're getting those repeat customers because they remember that first experience and they go, man, this is the same person that I want to work with on the next one and the next one. And I want to give my friends and family that same, treatment that I got when I purchased my home. So I think that you're doing it exactly the right way that you should be. So that's good stuff.
Well, thank you.
So you talk about snowbirds. So how's that experience work, right? So you've got somebody that's coming from one of the northern states and they want to come down and enjoy some of that sunshine weather. How does that transaction work? Is it all done over the phone? Do they fly out and go from house? What does that look like?
And before you do that, how do they find you? How do you even get these snowbirds? Do you have...
A lot of them find me online.
Yeah.
I guess they Google me and I pop up. I don't know. A lot of them do find me online. And I have purchased leads and done all that kind of stuff in the past. As far as snowbirds, we do it all. Some of them are down here for the winter, so they're just like a local client.
Yeah.
Others, I do a lot virtually. So, thank goodness for iPhones and technology. I don't know how people showed real estate before we had Zoom and FaceTime and all those things. So I do a lot via FaceTime and Zoom, which is kind of nice. It's not quite the same as being there, but I can go, oh, well, there's a stain on the ceiling, or let's look under the cabinet and check out the plumbing. Oh, it looks like it might be polybutylene plumbing. We might, and then we'll have a little chat about that. And then if they like it, they usually fly down during the inspection contingency.
Right.
But I can't tell you how many people I have. It gives me an ulcer, but that have bought totally sight unseen. They've trusted me 110%. And I'm like, hold my breath until they get down here, and sometimes it's like months. We'll close, we might close in June and they don't come down until October or November. And I'm like sweating bullets. I wake up in the middle of the night going,
Please love the
I hope
house.
Susie
Please
likes
love the
house,
Well, that just shows you how much you care.
Yeah.
But I've been lucky. They've all trusted me, and all the sight unseens have been very, very happy, and continue to tell me how happy they are and what a great decision it's been. So I guess I'm doing something right.
Well, there's something very genuine about the way that you communicate. And I think that's what they hear is how genuine you are and how much you truly do care. And it gives them that ability to kind of let go a little bit and have that blind hope and trust because you've given that to them. You've given that to them by the way that you communicate. And, the fact that you care that much, man, they got to go, look, if she cares this much, it's got to be awesome, right? It's going to be awesome. And I think that's why they let go of the reins. So that's because of you, Billee. So, soak that in and know that, it's just because you do a great job of helping people understand that you're there to support them and that you want them to have that perfect experience. They can feel that energy. I can feel it just talking to you through our call here today, so that's awesome. And that's definitely part of what's making your success so significant. So I'm looking at purchasing a home and I don't live in the area and I reach out to you by the phone. What does that typically look like? Is there, kind of a interview process that you do and then you're going out and showing them houses remotely? Like, what does that look like?
Well, first I'll ask you a gazillion questions to get a feel for what you're looking for.
A gazillion or a gazillion and one?
Gazillion and one.
I love it.
But just to get a feel if if condo life is what you're looking for, or if you're more a single family type home, do you want to be in a gated master plan community where they mow your lawn because you're only going to be down here 6 months out of the year?
Yeah.
Or do you want a bigger yard where you enjoy mowing the lawn and having a yard service during the summer months. And then once we kind of narrow down what you're looking for, then I start sending you properties that I think you like. And I probably spend too much time doing this. I go through a lot of them personally and go, oh, I think this one would be perfect, and send. And then, of course, I put you on the automatic feed also. But then you'll call me and go, oh, Billee, I just saw this house I fell in love with. It's exactly like what we were talking about. When can we get in to see it? And I'll be like, well, how does your schedule look? I can do Tuesday at 2. I'll just call you up. I'll FaceTime you. We'll do a virtual walkthrough and we'll go from there.
I love that. I love that. So on the virtual walkthrough, do we start at the doorstep or do you show them a little bit about the neighborhood? What's that look like?
Yes, I've gotten very good with holding my phone out the window. Actually, for Christmas, my husband got me a thing on my rearview mirror where I can put my phone on the rearview
That's
mirror
awesome.
and actually do it that way.
We need you safe out there.
Exactly. But when you're in a neighborhood, it's a little bit easier. It's when you go out
100%.
on the main road. Yes, I get, because you've got to get a sense for the community, because all the communities are a little bit different, you know? So I do take them on a driving tour through the neighborhoods. And then when they come down here, again, I get a feel for what neighborhoods they like. And then I keep an eye on those particular subdivisions when things come available.
That's great. That's great. So, even if you're long distance, you can still feel like you know the area a little bit because you're going to drive them through that. But let's talk about that too, because you've been there for a while. Do you tell them a little bit about the history of that area or, the neighborhood and what they might expect? And what does that sound like?
Yes. And like I said, because I've been here 30 years, I've seen so much change over the 30 years I've been here. And a lot of these subdivisions, even these roads, didn't exist when I first came to town. So I can tell them a little bit about, and I know the newer communities, within the last 25 years or so, who the builders were. So I can tell them who the builders were, awesome. The history. So not just the history of the local area, but oftentimes the subdivision itself. Yeah,
the origin of the maker of the home. And that's important, right? Because we start to understand, who's out there building houses. And sometimes they're not the best builders. And sometimes they're absolutely fantastic. And you're going to know which ones that is. And hey, this is a such and such home. This is probably going to be a really good choice for you because of these reasons, right?
And, I also have been here long enough too that I know what communities like maybe have a tendency that they were built in the 80s, so you have to worry about polybutylene plumbing.
Right.
And of course, we had I think Southwest Fort Myers and Cape Coral and Las Vegas were like the two big areas that had the wonderful defective drywall back in the early 2000s. So thank goodness that's been remediated for the most part. But, there's still, it pops up every so often.
Yeah.
You
know what to look for.
I know what to look for. Exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk about that too, though, because you're also on the water. And, the one thing that I know is that you see some hurricanes out there. How do those conversations go, right? Are most of the homes already kind of ready, have all the shutters and everything that you need to board up the houses, or how's that work?
Well, I've changed my tune a little bit on that one. If you had asked me a couple of years ago about hurricane, I would have been, it's just like a blizzard. You have nothing to worry about. You might lose some power, get some down trees, no big deal. Because at that point, I had been through Hurricane Charlie, Hurricane Wilma, and Hurricane Irma. And that's basically what it was.
Right.
And then we had Ian that struck us a year ago last September and totally wiped this part of Florida off the map.
It did.
It did. And we're still reeling from it. And it's going to take a good few more years before we're back up and running in parts of town. Right. But you know what? It didn't slow down business at all. And those folks that have the foresight and know that as we rebuild Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel and Matalache and the local areas, everything's going to be brand spanking new.
That's right.
And so your home value is just going to go up.
That's it.
So a lot of people have flocked to the area to get in and get a bargain and, put a little sweat equity into it and know that in the next 5-10 years, they're going to probably more than double their investment.
It's huge. And I knew that. That's why I brought it up. Some people go, hey, why are you talking about a negative? Well, it's just part of the life, right? You have to understand the things that you might be, be getting into when you purchase in an area that gets hit by hurricanes. But at the same time, it also brings a lot of value. And most of your homes are prepared for that. I know, just recently you guys had a little scare. It didn't hit that hard, thank goodness. But I remember talking to Dana, and she said, "Oh, we're putting all the shutters up, and I'm hoping this one's going to be a simple one." And it was. You guys got through pretty much unscathed. But people have to think about that kind of stuff. So if I'm out of state and hurricanes coming through, and I don't have all the shutters, how does that work? Do you guys have services out there that work for that, or what's that look like?
They do have services, but what I tell my customers that if they're not going to be here during the summer months, it's in their best interest for a couple of reasons to get a home watch service.
Right.
Because a home watch service not only helps you with your insurance, but God forbid something happens over the summer and you're not aware of it. So, and they're relatively inexpensive. I think it's like $50-$60 a month. And for peace of mind, have somebody check on your home a couple times a month. And those folks usually put your hurricane shutters up also.
That's awesome.
For an additional fee, of course. It's an additional fee.
For the low charge of.
Exactly. But the more recent, the newer homes are all being built with hurricane impact glass. So you don't really need to worry about putting shutters up.
That's awesome.
Hey, Billee, let's talk about your past year, 2023. I mean, you had a great year. A lot of real estate agents across the country struggled this year. There was a lot of doom and gloom, but you had a great year. Let's talk about that. Did you do anything different this past year, or it was just business as usual?
Just hustle, hustle, hustle. No, I didn't do anything different. I've been very blessed the last 5 years. I've been one of the top salespeople. Well, the top salesperson for Jones & Co. Realty. And I just think it's my hard work and my dedication. And I just put my all into it. But no, I didn't do anything different this year.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. Earlier you said I used to pay for purchase lead, which you don't anymore.
Yeah.
So everything that you have is organic. It's all done through Billee, correct?
Correct. So, and I hope it stays that way.
Those are the best,
Exactly. I do a lot with referrals and from other realtors across the nation that I have built a rapport with over the years. And again, referrals from my sphere of influence and friends.
Well, let's talk about those referrals.
Best.
Yeah, we know where a lot of that comes from, and that's from that amazing service that you're giving them up front. The above and beyond that you said, man, maybe I'm doing too much. You're not, right? Because that's why they keep coming back. There's no question about it, right? They know what to expect from you. But do you have a process for staying in touch? I know you said, hey, I stay in touch with everybody. How's that process look, right? Is it phone calls? Are you texting? Are you guys having appreciation parties? What do y'all do out there?
I'm not real good with phone calls because when you're on the phone all day as a realtor calling people and stuff, and I've never been a chatty person on the telephone anyways. I reach out holidays. I try not to forget anybody on a holiday, whether it be a card or a text or birthday. I try to send them, a lot of my clients I send a home living magazine to every couple of months. And I do pick up the phone and call occasionally, but I don't know what their schedule is. I tell you, these retired folks, they are busier than any of us working people because whenever I pick up a phone, I usually get voicemail. And, and then when they do call back, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I was at, bunco or golf or, they're always doing something. So
I love it.
I don't want to bother them.
I love it. Well, it sounds like it's, also part of the community out there, right? There's just so much stuff to do. Why be cooped up in the house all day, right? Get out there and enjoy life.
That's why we moved to Florida, to enjoy the beautiful weather, the beautiful lifestyle, whether you're a boater or a golfer, a fisherman, there's always something to do down here.
100%. I love it. Well, okay. So 8 years in the industry, you're having tremendous success in 2023 when other people are not. It's organic because you're providing all this, this great customer service. What do you foresee happening in the 2024? Do you have big plans coming into next year?
Well, I'm hoping I'll be just as successful in 2024, and that, but I think our market down here is going to maybe level out a little bit. It's not going to be as crazy as it had been, that during the COVID where we were going.
Yeah.
It was like Black Friday every morning. You see the new listings pop up. You go and stand in line for your little 15-minute window to show, and then you go back to the office to write that contract, and the dreaded multiple offers, highest and best, due by such and such a date and time. And if you had a buyer with financing, they were just losing out. They couldn't compete with all these
Well, then government financing, even worse, right? It's like there were levels of financing that wasn't accepted. Conventional was first, then government was like, nope, not doing any of those, and cash was king, right? No, you're right. It was a wild ride.
Well,
so I don't think we're going to see that in 2024. But you know what? If you had asked me before COVID, if the market had gone the way we had seen it, I would never have anticipated that either. Right. My crystal ball was a little foggy back then.
Well, we were talking earlier, and you said that your busiest month is January through April.
That's right.
Which is amazing to the rest of the country, because summer months are typically, March through October is usually the busy months. But with that being said, all the experts are saying if you buy a house now between January and March, it's as if you bought it pre-COVID. So everybody knows if you bought a house before COVID hits, you sat on a gold mine because you just sat and watched your investment go straight up. So I think someone like Billee, put your seatbelt on. You may have a record year this year. Yeah. As we sit here and shoot this podcast, what is it, December 29th?
That's it.
It's December 29th, 2023, 2024.
Right about to hit that new year.
It's just about around the corner. I think you are about to blow up, lady.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that.
We can only hope.
We'll talk about that a little bit too, because I think a lot of people were reluctant to get back in the market last year with the rates being, higher. For those of us that have been in the industry for a long time, we know that it's really more of a normal market than anything. When I first got in the industry back in early 2000s, rates were at the lowest they'd ever been, at a 6.5, and man, we were in a refi boom because we were at 6.5, right? And
I remember those days.
Exactly, and then you get to a point where rates get into the twos, and people think a 6, 7, 8% interest rate is just unbelievably high, when mortgages at certain points in time have been 11, 12, 17%, right? So we've got a lot of people that have been on the fence, and I think what David's talking about is very accurate, because those same people weren't moving forward with buying houses. As the rates will come down in 2024, they predict about 1 million people come back to market for every 1% that rates reduce, right? So talk about that, because we've got an inventory of less than 700,000 homes in the United States today. And if we're bringing millions of people back to the market as the rates decline, what's going to happen is we're going to get back to a point where people are all bidding for the same houses, which is going to cause for offers to be increased to be able to win the bid. And now you're going to get back into a position to where home values start to go up a little bit. Whereas the person that gets in before the craze, which is what David's talking about, they can do some negotiation on their house right now. They may actually be able to buy it under market. Maybe not, but they might be able to buy it under market. They can actually shop a little bit for the home that they actually want, because there's not as often multiple offers on the table, or not mass multiple offers on the table, right? And yeah, the rates have already started to come down, so they can take advantage of that. But if the rates improve between now and say 6 months from now, all they've got to do is a quick refinance, and they're in the same position on the rate side as the person that waits, but they get the house for a lot less money, and they get to shop a little bit and pick the home that they actually want. So I think there's a little wisdom to what David's talking about. The folks that get in at the beginning of the year, January, February, I believe they've got a little bit of a buyer's advantage because as the rates do come down and we approach summer months for the rest of the United States, for those of us that are not in Florida, I think we're going to have a pretty wild market moving into 2024. I don't think it's going to be COVID numbers. I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be COVID numbers, but I think it's going to really surpass what we saw in 22 and 23. And I think for people that aren't ready for it, they need to start focusing on doing the right activity now.
And that's one thing that I think us realtors need to do is better educate our buyers that they all have the mentality, oh, I'm going to wait. The market's going to come down. No, exactly what you said. It's going to be supply and demand again. As the interest rates begin to decrease, we're going to see more people popping back into the market, and it is going to be multiple offers. Now is the perfect time, actually, to buy here in Southwest Florida.
Well, especially,
we can still negotiate.
Yeah. Well, and especially with what you're talking about down there, with the fact that everything is being rebuilt. So if you get in now, you're going to be moving into a community that you're going to be surrounded by all new businesses here in the next several years, which is going to improve on that market value as well. So we don't want the secret out too much, but man, I think people need to start picking up that phone and calling Billee today so they can get out there and negotiate on those houses before the madness starts, right? So to speak. So.
Hey, Billee, we've talked about a lot today, but there's something I am curious about. I always like to ask one special question to our special guest, and it's this. In your 8 years that you've been in real estate, what's the one transaction that stands out the most to you, that's special to you?
I've had a lot of unique ones. Let's see. I had one where it was a divorce situation, and the wife did not want to leave the house, so we had to end up evicting her.
Oh, wow.
And yes, that was very messy and kind of sad.
Yeah.
But I think the most rewarding it was during COVID. I had a young lady that I think we looked at, it was like 48 houses.
Oh my gosh.
And
48.
Yes. And she was starting a job here, so she needed a place to live. It wasn't like she was a snowbird and it was a secondary home.
Yeah.
She needed a place to live. And unfortunately, she needed financing. So she kept losing out to all these cash buyers. And I kept saying to her, don't worry, it wasn't meant to be. Trust me, you're going to find the perfect house. I know you loved this one, but apparently I'm a firm believer in fate. It wasn't meant to be. There's something out there better for you. And if I sounded like a broken record, if she's like, if I had $1 for every time you said that, I wouldn't need financing, And we finally walked in the door. It ended up being, we walked in the door of this house, and I just saw her eyes light up like I'd never seen them light up before. Home. And she's like, this is the one, Billee. This is it. You got to get me this house. And I'm like, oh no pressure or anything. And of course we did. We won the bid. She got the house, and I check up on her like every couple of months, and she is absolutely loving it.
That's
and
awesome.
She has said every time I talk to her, she's like, I got so sick and tired of hearing you say it wasn't meant to be. She's like, but you were right. She's like, I'm so glad that we lost out on those other homes, because I wouldn't be in my dream home.
That's awesome.
So I think of all my transactions was the most rewarding.
You know what's amazing about that too, and David and I hear this all the time. There were a lot of people during COVID that bought the wrong house, and they don't love the house, and they're not happy with the house. They got a great rate, and a lot of those people, they kind of were stuck in that mortgage purgatory for a while, because they're like, well, I can't refinance this thing because or buy another house because I'm going to lose out on the position that I have. I overpaid for the house that I'm in, but not Billee. You took the time to go to 47, different opportunities, and didn't get them, and finally led her to the home that was the one that was the right home. And she still loves it. And I promise you, she loves you for it, because you got her in her dream home. And that's what we're all looking for. We want to be in that dream home, the one that when we walk in and we close that door, we feel like we're home, and you did that. So
I don't want anybody to ever settle, because you've got to love the house. And if it's not meant to be, if we don't find something, then maybe they need to rent until we can find the house that you love. But I don't want anybody to settle just for that reason.
Yeah. Or another option, a 203K, right? You can go in there and renovate and make the house that you want it to be. I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about. But those are great opportunities. During COVID, not a lot of opportunity there because you had to win the bid first.
But that's huge now here because of the homes that were flooded during Hurricane Ian.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge now because they can come in and do exactly that. Take an older home that now has been pretty much gutted down to the studs and make it their dream home.
And that's something I think a lot of people don't think about when they go to buy a house. They go, man, it's got to be perfect. And they see some of these homes that maybe are an ugly duckling. But if they talk a little bit about, hey, well, what could this home look like? How could it end up? Right. And let's plan that out and let's do that. We can do that with financing. And I think that's a beautiful thing that a lot of people don't take advantage of as often as they should, because you can take that ugly duckling and turn it into your dream home. And a lot of the times the payments can be financed in while you're waiting for that house to be completed. So a little mortgage plug for the 203K, but I want to throw it out there because I don't think enough people think about
they
that
don't.
when they think
I talk about that all the time. You're right. People have never even heard, a lot of people have never even heard of it. Didn't even know it was a possibility.
That's right. Well, it is, guys and gals. And if you're looking for that perfect home, you're going to reach out to Billee. And if it doesn't exist, let us know. We can make it the perfect home with a renovation loan, right? So, well, Billee, we would love to keep you here all day, but we know you've got tons of people out there to help out. So we want to get you back there to serve the people that you love to serve so much. What is it that we didn't talk about today that we should have?
I think you covered everything, gentlemen. I appreciate your time, and it was a real honor talking to you in person here.
Awesome.
Well, honor is all ours. We love getting an opportunity to speak with amazing people like yourself. That's the whole reason we do this show, is to help lead people to the right people, the ones they can trust, the ones that are doing great things out there in the industry. And guys and gals, that's Billee. And if you want to find Billee, how do we find you? What's the way that we can get in touch with you?
The best way is to call or text me. My number is 239-247-2490. And I go by Billee the Realtor. Billee, my parents spelled a little screwy, so if you spell it wrong, I don't get the email. But it's BILLE, the Realtor @gmail.com. So that's nice and easy to remember. I'm on all the social media as Southwest Florida Realtor. So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, all those good things too.
Billee
or Google me.
the Realtor. I love it. I love it. You make it too easy. BILLEE. We'll make sure we put that down there on screen too. For those of you who are watching the podcast, you're seeing it right now. But if you're looking to purchase down there in that South Florida area, and it's what all areas? It's Fort Myers, Cape Coral. What all do you serve out there?
Fort Myers, Cape Coral, Estero, Bonita Springs, Lehigh Acres, Meadow Lachey, Pine Island, Sanibel, Fort Myers Beach.
All
North
of that.
Naples.
If you're looking to buy that perfect home in any of those areas and you want somebody with the expertise, somebody that's been there for 30 years, knows the area, knows the market, knows real estate inside and out, Billee the Realtor, and you're going to be super happy that you did. That's why our customers keep coming back. That's why we have her on the show today. So, Billee, thank you so much for joining us today. David, anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up today?
Well, if you're looking for real estate in Florida, especially in the Fort Myers area, there's only one realtor I would call, and that's Billee Silva. If you're going to look at houses and you have to look at 48 houses,
she's going to show them to you.
You better like the person you're with. So you're so bubbly and awesome. I would, hanging out with you would be an honor. That's awesome. Call Billee, guys. Call Billee.
Fun. It's got to be fun, because when you look at a lot of houses, it can get grueling and frustrating and stressful. Yeah. So I want to make it fun and take the pain and the stress away. So
awesome. I love it. I love it.
We're going to rock 2024, gentlemen.
Yes, do more in 2024. Let's go.
Oh, I like that.
More in 24. I love it. That's our mantra this year. So, well, Billee, it's been amazing to have you here, and we're your real estate success partners. I'm Devin Dubuque.
I'm David Wynn.
And if you want to check us out, you can come to realestatesuccesspartner.com. Again, that's realestatesuccesspartner.com, or come over to YouTube or IG or Facebook at the Dubuque team. You can check out out the video over there, and we suggest that you do because you're going to want to meet Billee face to face. She is awesome. But until the next one, we'll see you then, folks.
Bye, guys.